Hello everyone, this is International Master Robert Jamieson from Kids Unlimited in Melbourne, Australia. Now, when I was a young man growing up in Melbourne, wanting to become a strong chess player, I had a problem. Who was going to teach me? We didn't have the internet with all the online resources that you guys have today. Australia didn't even have a grandmaster. There was only one grandmaster in the whole of Asia from 1974, Torre in the Philippines. We had an IM, an old guy named Cecil Purdy in Sydney, but that wasn't much good to me. So how was I going to learn how to play better chess? Now, normally, the best way to learn any field of endeavour is to learn off the people who are really good at it. So Cecil Purdy, even though he couldn't coach me because he lived in Sydney and I lived in Melbourne, he was a fantastic author, and he made a suggestion how you could, in effect, have Fischer or Capablanca or any strong player beside you, giving you a bit of coaching and helping you choose the right move. So his method was to get a book of annotated games by, say, Bobby Fischer's 60 Memorable Games, something like that, and get a piece of cardboard and cover over the moves. So you're there and you're trying to guess Fischer's next move. So you work it out and you pull down your piece of cardboard, look at the move, and Fischer's chosen a different move. So the question is, what can you learn from that? Maybe there's some annotations beneath it that'll explain his reasoning, or you can put your thinking cap on and think, well, why did Fischer go there and I never even thought of that? And that's a really good way to learn. Now, these days, we can do a similar thing. It's very easy to follow the games of the top players. So I thought for today, I've chosen 3 positions from Magnus Carlsen's game. So if we're going to learn from a good player, we might as well go straight to the top. So let's have a look at these positions and see if we can play like Magnus. All right. First position, Magnus is playing black. It's his move. Now, the normal scenario, when it's your turn to move, is you say, what's your opponent threatening? Blah, 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 hopefully there's no threats. And then you look at what's called candidate moves. So you don't look at every move on the board, that would be a waste of time. But you can narrow it down to 1, 2, 3, 4 possible moves that you should investigate. So I got this technique from a very famous book called Think Like a Grandmaster by Alexander Kotov, the Russian GM. So he says the grandmaster decides on his candidate moves, analyzes them once, and then makes his decision and plays the move whilst checking it just before he plays it. All right, so the mission for you is to firstly look at your candidate moves. Tell me what your candidate moves are, and then which one would you actually play for black. So if you like, pause the video, have a bit of a thought, and see what you'd play. Okay, hopefully you've decided on your move. Now, if it were me, I'd be completing my development. I think I'd probably play Bishop D7, something like that. But Magnus says, would you like a free pawn? You just push in the pawn and take in the bishop, and we can take it. So what's going on here? Well, firstly, if he doesn't take it, so like he moves the bishop, then that's the end of white's kingside attack, and black's controlling this lovely e5 hole. And I'd be pretty happy if I was black in this position. So, of course, white takes it. So the question we must ask ourselves is, why has Magnus given up a pawn? There's no clear tactical threat or anything like that. What do you think the answer is? Maybe it's just to activate his pieces. In particular, this rook is now on a half-open file, putting lots of pressure on the bishop, on the f3 pawn. So maybe just giving the guy a pawn start to activate his pieces. And his follow-up move, would you believe, develops the bishop. Okay, let's see what happens. Knight there. All right, so the knight's being redeployed. What do you think Magnus played now? Let's have another go. See if we can guess his next move. So he's given white a pawn. Doesn't have any immediate threats. He could play rook c8. So pause the video, decide on your move. All right, have you decided? Let's see. Rook takes bishop. He's sacrificed the exchange. What's going on here? Take. Attacks the queen. No big deal. The queen moves. So he's given up the exchange and a pawn. Why? What do you think the answer is? I think he's just trying to activate his pieces. He wants to dominate the black squares and sit on his opponent. Like, this rook's not doing much. This is a pretty lousy bishop. The knight's on the back. The rook's over here. Let's see how we go. Queen here. Knight up. Go away, queen. So he's chasing the queen away. Rook here. All right, so Magnus is willing to sacrifice the exchange and a pawn to give himself the initiative. So he's the one dictating the play, give himself strong pieces. So I guess he's confident that he can outplay most people from a position like this. So I'll just quickly show you what happened. It's fairly long, so let's see how he went. Rook here, takes, no big deal. Queen attacks the weak point. Now, blocked it. How do we get in? We open up the queen side. Queen's coming in. King can't run away because the bishop's on pre. Check. Check. King there. I mean, like, he's just moving his king. But look at his pieces. They're pretty good. And his opponent's pieces, they're not doing much. Rook here, king's running away. Now he's breaking in the center. The bishop's activated. White gives back the exchange to try and get out. But now he realizes his position is horrible and he gives up. So how peculiar. So the lesson we can learn is that Magnus is quite happy to sacrifice material to give himself the initiative and good pieces. Okay, let's move this down for a second. All right, just look away for a second as I move on to the next position. All right, and look back now. All right, second position. What's happening here? So Magnus is white. He is the pawn down, but he has a nice position. He's got lots of space. And look, he's got a lovely supported, protected pawn on d6. It's not going anywhere. The black's got a block, but still that's tying black's pieces down. So Magnus has a nice position, but oh, black's trying to swap off queens. And if we move our queen away somewhere, he might gobble another pawn over here. All right. So put your Magnus thinking cap on. What would you play as white? Think of your candidate moves again. Okay, have you decided? All right, let's see if you got the Magnus move. Magnus plays rook takes bishop. He's giving up the exchange again. Right, let's see what happens. Queen takes rook. So why is he giving up the exchange? Well, he can now develop the rook with gain of tempo, attacking the queen. Queen doesn't have many squares, has to go here. We attack the queen again. Queen goes back. Now he just plays here. All right, so there doesn't appear to be an immediate win for Magnus. Just the exchange and a pawn down. like the last game. But he has a very nice position. His opponent's under pressure. His pieces aren't coordinated. Can Magnus outplay him? All right, let's see what happens. Pawn now. Rook takes pawn. Goodness. Magnus had his tactic. King takes. Queen takes. The computer preferred bishop takes e6, but this is all right. King here. Queen check. King here. Queen check. King here. Here come the pawns. All right, so this is looking pretty good now. Now that we've got those pawns rolling. Queen here. Chop, chop, chop. Now Magnus is still the exchange down, but black's all tied up. So we can't queen the pawn. Black's got that covered. With exchange down for a pawn. How would you win here? What method or what's your winning idea do you have? Have a little think. The answer is Magnus can set up a position where black can't get his pieces out. Look at that poor rook. I mean, the king can't get out. The rook can't get out. So we just run him out of moves and he resigned. We can just waddle our king up here and gobble everything. So Magnus sacked the exchange again. That worked out pretty well for him. It wasn't an immediate victory, but his opponent collapsed under the pressure. Well done, Magnus. All right. Let's move on to the third example. Let's look away for a second. All right. So let's see what's happening here. Magnus is black. Okay, pawns are equal. So black has 3 pieces for a queen. So that's equal on points. Normally, you'd probably rather be the 3 pieces. In this position, however, white's got a lot of space and black's pieces aren't very developed or coordinated. And there's a nice hole on d6. I think you'd probably rather be white. All right, so Magnus to play as black. Put on your thinking cap. Give me some candidate moves and then choose which move you'd make. So you can get Magnus's best move. All right, have you decided? I've shown this position to a few of my students, and most of them don't even get black's move as a candidate move, let alone the move that they should play. All right. One of the skills in chess you need to develop if you want to be a good player is understanding what's important in any particular position. You know, is it space? Is it material? Is it king safety? Is it double pawn? Because there are different factors going on, but they're not always particularly relevant. So what do you think is the key problem for black in this position? I think it's piece activity, and in particular, white's going to put this knight here. And like if we take, maybe I take with the queen. I mean, how's this bishop getting out? It looks pretty horrible. So can we solve this problem? So we've identified the problem, now we have to solve it. So Magnus's move is d5. Would you like a free pawn? A pass pawn on the 6th rank? Presuming you know the en passant rule. So of course white goes, oh, you view here. I mean, if he moves the knight back, Magnus can get his men out. So he just says, thanks for the pawn, Magnus. All right. What's the follow-up? See if we can get his move here. Think piece activity. How are we going to activate our pieces? You decided? Right. Rook a5. Probably with the threat of rook d5. So white goes c4. Magnus's next move. Think piece activity again. F5. Okay. I haven't recorded the end of the game, but I think Magnus went on to win. But he started off with that amazing D5, giving us a free supported pass pawn on D6. Why did he do it? Because he wanted to activate his pieces, get some play, try and get the initiative, and he would then outplay his opponent. Okay, so I hope from those 3 examples you might have learned a little bit about how a really good player thinks and makes his decisions and chooses the best candidate move to give himself a chance in the game. Right, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you all next time.